everyone. We are back again. We had last week off. We are back again. I am Danny Terrell, and this is Intimate Conversations with Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas. I am going to wait for our guests to come in, but I'm typing some stuff in so you can see it in the chat. I will make sure I pin this comment. Awesome. Again, everybody that's going to be logging on, that will log on eventually one day. I am Danny Terrell, and this is Intimate Conversations with Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas. We are sitting on the traditional land of the Coastal Salish people, the Duwamish people. We are also ancestors. We are also the offspring of enslaved African people. So definitely want to acknowledge that. I'm kind of like going through it kind of fast today because I want to I want to get in it with our guest today. And you know why I'm laughing, because we're just about to go all the way in. So that's it again. We are sitting on Duwamish, the Coastal Salish people. We are sitting on Duwamish land. We are the products of enslaved African people, and we are here to do some work. Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas is a nonprofit organization solely dedicated to presenting emerging Black arts, artists, and ideas in the Seattle area. We believe in the value of community, creativity, identity, and passion. These values serve I can't talk today. These values serve as a strategic, let me slow down, frame and guide our day-to-day operations and program ideas. So, who you be?
Who, me?
Yes, I ain't talking to myself.
Oh, man. Shoot. I don't know. Catch me on the day. It depends on the day, man. Arif Gursel. Just happy to be here with you, Danny. You know, we always had these conversations. So it's like, oh, yeah. Lord, we about to let the world in? All right, cool.
We are so about to let the world in. Yes, Arif Gursel. This is family to me. Y'all know I say that about a bunch of folks, but I do have close relationships with folks. Arif, we'll get into it. Arif challenges me and I challenge him, and it is the most beautiful thing, and it is all done in love. So that's why I'm excited to talk to Arif. I've asked every single person that I've interviewed this question, Black love looks like, and Arif said Black love looks like radical inclusivity and radical non-judgment. And before we jump into what that is, my first question for you is, what are you bringing into the space today, and who are you bringing into the space today?
Oh, man, I am bringing in, I just always have a gratitude just for being here, just waking up today. I believe it's one of the few things in the universe we don't control is just simply waking up. So when I wake up, and between waking up and going to sleep, everything else is what we control. So I'm always bringing a attitude of gratitude. And then, most recently, you and I and with, Randy and Jay Mays and with, Tin and Shantina and Jade, we just launched Suli Fund. So obviously I'm feeling like my brother around me, like tremendously, these past few days and weeks. So I'm bringing ancestral energy with me in every space that I go into, because nowadays I just feel like that's what has to guide us is ancestral energy, because everything else is just bullshit. Honestly, it's fabricated.
We're going to get into that some more. We're also going to get into the Suli Fund some more, and we're going to talk about Rasul and the importance of the Suli Fund. You are a globally focused technology strategist and business development. I cannot get it out today. Business development professional with over 15 years of experience gained from a unique blend of professional backgrounds and job disciplines. Some of that work includes VIBEHEAVY, PACE, Pan-African Center for Empowerment, the Union Seattle, Tribe Called Tech. I just kind of want you to go through all of those things, and it's much more work that you do. I want you to go through those things and why they are important to you, and why did those things get started?
I think the principle of all of it is based in Sankofa. For me,
Mm-hmm.
we can't progress if we don't look back. Um,
True.
and so I have been just a 1% of the 1% based on how I was born, how I was raised. Like, I ain't supposed to be here. I think, most black men will tell the same story, right? Like, I can't tell you how many teachers or people when I was growing up in Brooklyn told me I wasn't going to be shit. You're going to be dead. You're going to be in jail. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. And that progressed even all the way through college. Even going to a
Mm-hmm.
HBCU, I still heard the same things. And, some of it was warranted. Like, I was out here doing some crazy shit. But um, at the end of it, I just think we products of our environment, and there's nature and there's nurture. And every time I've been fortunate enough to step through a door, I just personally don't have the mindset that like I made it. So now that I
Mm-hmm.
made it, I'm good. Like, fuck everybody else. You know what I mean? So I think everything that we think about, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm a venture capitalist, man. I like getting my bag, right? Like, I like getting to my money.
Right.
But there's two sides of me. Like, after I was fortunate enough to sell my first company and kind of see a little bit of a success back in 2014, around that same time, Trayvon Martin happened, Mike Brown happened, Tamir Rice happened. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember looking at some of my other technology homies who real close to me, and we still do a lot of things today. But the one thing that we all have in common is we from Chicago. I was born in the South Side of Chicago, raised in New York. So that's two hoods, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember looking at these dudes who also like had some real rough upbringings, you know what I mean? But technology was like this common layer between us that kind of saved us, right? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up as either you're gonna be a dope boy or you're gonna be a basketball player, a football player, or something. There was no other option for you being a black man
Exactly.
growing up in the hood, you know what I mean? And I remember the first time I saw money, like real money. I came out here on an internship. I was like, all the way through college, I had fortunate enough to get an internship with Microsoft, and they brought me out here to Seattle. And even then, I
Right.
was, if you know what about the life, I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out still, you know. Um, and I remember having some older mentors who was at Microsoft, we were driving in a car, and we got pulled over in Bellevue. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
nervous. I'm doing the classic black man shit. Like, yo, y'all got guns in here, y'all got weed, y'all like what
Right.
we got, like, who got what? Like, and they looking at me like, bruh, you need to live a whole nother life. Like, what's wrong with you? And I pulled up on these dudes, and these are dudes who went to Tuskegee like I did, but they were older and they were fortunate enough to be at Microsoft in the early days, and they made their millions. And I remember them just having a real conversation with me about, man, there's other ways. You gotta
Right.
you gotta see the world bigger. And that just changed my perspective on things. And I realized for the first time I saw black people making real money that had nothing to do with selling drugs or running a ball or being an entertainer. And
Right.
that just changed me. And I went back to school. And even my professors was like, yo, what happened to you? And I was like, man, I seen it this summer. Like, I saw it for
Mm-hmm.
real. And so I got down. But as I started to progress and I got a full-time job at Microsoft and I started doing things, man, my best friend was killed when I was like my freshman year at Tuskegee. He got shot in his head on his birthday. And
Mm-hmm.
I always remember to myself, like, man, I can't save him, but who can I save that comes behind me, that looks like me, that
Mm-hmm.
reflects like me, that moves like me. And so
Mm-hmm.
fast forward, when I was successful in this company, I look backwards and I was just call some of my homies. I'm like, look, you a millionaire, you a millionaire. We come from these hoods though. Like, what we gonna do? Like, what we gonna do for the people we've left behind? And that's how Pace got started. And it got
Mm-hmm.
started, first with a program called Talented 10th, where it was literally all about just positive media imagery. Like, how can we show kids there's another way?
Right.
Um, and then from there, it became coding boot camps. And there, just every time I saw a problem, I created a program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses my wife off and my team off, right? Because I'm always, it's like the orphan kid. I'm always starting programs because I'll try to figure out a programmatic way to help people. Like, instead of you just
Right.
coming to me and saying I can help you, it's like, yeah, I can give you a check, but like, teach somebody to fish and you don't have to feed them. You know what I mean? So for me, it's always about trying to do that kind of stuff. So I do a lot, but it's all in Sankofa.
Right. And something that you said earlier today, earlier in this conversation that really struck me, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And for me, that is who you are, and that is part of your success. That is a huge part of your success. And a lot of times I see a lot of black folks not able to balance the two.
Mm.
And I think they both serve in success. How does that serve you in the success that you've had?
Yo, man, like, first of all, it ain't easy. I had to go through a lot of years of sacrifice. And
Right.
so I come from an activist family. Like, every major company that I've ever been at, I've been fired. I'm gonna be hunted. Like, I ain't, black folks don't quit good jobs, right? We don't quit
Right.
jobs with people paying us checks. But I've been fired because at that moment, I had to decide who I am and what I want my legacy to be and what I can go to
Mm-hmm.
sleep on. And so after 13 years in Microsoft, I just saw too much anti-black shit happening, right? Where I was just like, yo, this is some bullshit. And I called it for what it is. And when you call it for what it is, man, white supremacy is a beautiful system. It's a
Right.
system. It's like, it's either going to evolve, it's going to heal itself, or it's going to get rid of the problem. And when you are a strong black person standing on your square saying y'all on some bullshit, that system is going to eject you. And
Exactly.
so I had to make a choice, right? And I think the problem is most black people who actually get some form of success, they become slaves to that success. They have to then question, am I willing to give up this little bit of plate that massa let me eat off of to go help the rest of the slaves in the plantation? And
Answer
most
is
of them,
no.
no, hell no. And I'm telling you,
No.
man, I've been hung out to dry by black people at these companies, right? And so, my wife has a saying, man, like it's one of my favorite sayings that like all white supremacists ain't white, right?
Exactly.
And when she said that shit to me one day, I was like, whoa, like that shit is real, right? And so,
Right.
because when I remember, like, it was a situation when I was at Microsoft. And what ultimately got me out of there, I had a manager, man, that had a bunch of blackface up in his house. He had a house party, had all these blackface paintings, slave memorabilia, like came up to me drunk, threw his arm around me, like, what do you think about my kitchen? I decorated in the style of Mahalia Jackson. And I'm like,
Right.
this motherfucker, right? I'm like,
You see, I'm like, Mahalia, who?
listen, okay? And I'm like, you mean Aunt Jemima, mug?
Right.
You don't mean Mahalia Jackson. You don't even know who Mahalia Jackson is. You just picked whatever name. And what was crazy, there was a black dude who came to me on my team and was like, yo, you got to see this. This is crazy. He taking me through the house. Everybody's drinking. And I'm looking like crazy. I'm taking pictures. So this same dude a month later told me in a one-on-one, you don't make me laugh enough. I don't think you have friends like on some stepping and fetch it shit in his office. Like, you got to make me laugh more. And I was like,
Agreed.
you know what? I'm good. I'm good on this money, on this job. If I got to come in here and make white, I told him flat out, that ain't my job. And at that time, I used to have really long locks and I had cut my hair.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, you know how when you always have an image of somebody, no matter what they do, you're going to always have that image of them?
Right.
I said, no, I don't know what you mean. He says, well, that's just kind of how I feel about you. I know you changed your image up and everything, but I still just see you for who you are, which is basically like, you see me as a strong black man who ain't going to never buck to you. And so ultimately that whole thing went to HR. And when
Right.
HR had an opportunity, they pulled that one other black dude on my team. And this was the one person who could have saved me. And he said, and
Mm.
they asked him, they said, did you hear any of that? Did you see any of this stuff at the party or what you was talking about? He said, no, I don't know none of what he's talking about.
See, that's the stuff right there. And we know this happens globally. You've been in Seattle for over 20 years. How do you, coming from Chicago, born in Chicago, raised in New York, how do you survive this?
Yo, I came here from Alabama. So that's an important step we can't
Okay.
forget. Like, I went to Tuskegee, man. If you don't know
Right.
about Tuskegee is rural Alabama. It's not one of them HBCUs that's like Howard, where you in
Exactly.
DC, right? And you get to go hang out. And, I'm in rural Alabama. There's a black county, there's a white county, there's still,
Right.
there's laws and rules still to how you move around Alabama. I moved from Alabama to Seattle. And I tell people all the time, man, that shit was so comfortable. It was the easiest transition. Seattle is like Alabama. They
Mm-hmm.
just don't have no accents here, right? But like the racism is really subtle here. It's refined racism here. But this
But
shit
what do
is
you
Alabama.
what do you say for people who move from a Chicago in a larger, more populated Black community, or Detroit, or an Atlanta, and they're moving to a place like Seattle? Because of that type of racism can be so, like, it slaps you in your face if that's not something that you're used to. What advice do you have for people? How do they deal with that?
Find your community. I mean, that's now you got to the why the union exists, right? Like that's why
Yeah.
the union exists. Like I literally was coming from an HBCU where if we hanging out, it's the union, right? Like, yo, meet me at the union, right? If you went to a predominantly white institution, you probably said meet me at the Black Student Union, right? I didn't go to a white school. So when I was trying to figure out a place, I was like, all right, here I am. I'm out of school, but there's no place for us to get together. There's not a single place
Right.
downtown that's a Black-owned bar. There ain't a Black-owned restaurant. Around that time, I think we had one, and unfortunately, COVID kind of, kiboshed a lot of that stuff. But I was literally like, and I also got tired of like the parties and bullshit, is what I called it, right? Like
Mhm.
every time Black people get together, it's always got to be around some liquor, some parties, and some shit. Like, can we just get together and be talking about how to make some money together, how to progress together, how to be
Right.
community? Like, how do we build our own? And that's what happened with the union. And then there's this weird thing that nobody talks about here, like that Seattle freeze is real, and white folks will talk about it too, but it's different for Black people. Like it's
Yes.
almost like school days here, right? Like, you remember that movie, The Locals versus the Transplants?
Yes.
Like, I've been here 20 plus years. I got kids born in Swedish hospital, bro, and
Right.
I do not get treated like a Seattle, like, right? They still like he's an outsider. I probably pay more property taxes than people here that's born here. Like, I do all of the things. I employ people here, but they won't let you in. And there's still this weird
But
thing in the Black community here.
but you don't come from a conformist mindset or attitude. You don't come from a conformist background. So it makes sense why you are not part of certain things. And I mean, for me, I celebrate that because, you and I talk about that all day long. And that's the part that I love about you, that you just don't come from that background. So do you want to be a part of
Hell
whatever that
no.
is?
Hell no. Like, y'all can have this Rudy Poo shit, man. Like, like, listen, man, this is an environment where it's a different kind of slave plantation. Seattle's a place that the Black folks who from here, that's been raised here a long time, man, they've been indoctrinated a different kind of way. So it's just weird. And I ain't never really understood that weirdness
Right.
that is here. And I ain't really trying to take too much time to understand it. Like, I do my thing. I own my thing. I create my space. I create space. If you don't want me in your space, cool. I support so much stuff here. I support
Right.
Blackness. So if you do, like, I just left Communion earlier to get back here to do this thing with you because Chef Christy and Damon opened a new restaurant. I just ordered some food because I'm going to support
Was it
Black
busy?
people. It was there when I was getting it. It was smelling good. I'm telling you, as soon as we get off this call, I'm back over there to pick up my
No, I'm
food.
saying it wasn't busy because I want to go over there, but it's COVID and I ain't trying to be around a lot of folks.
I don't think they're doing an indoor thing. I think it's an
Right.
outdoor, DJ's outdoor. So, I'm
Okay.
probably mask back up and head back over to support. But like, to your
I
point,
may see you over there.
yeah, for sure. But I don't want to be a part of nothing that's
Mhm.
built on bullshit. Now, if we talking about progressing, if we talking about unifying, if we talk about doing the right things, and this is why we talked about earlier, like, what is Black love? Like, radically inclusive, radically non-judgmental.
Right.
Like, I don't have an opinion about what you do and how you live, but let's make sure that we are engaging each other on the foundation of something that's pure and not based in like ego and other stuff. You know what I mean? We can always progress. We can normalize just by engaging with each other. So you're right. Like, I'm cool. Like, you ain't gotta let me in because and
Right.
I don't know. I just feel self-made in a lot of places, and that's not about money. Like, I was that way when I was 16, moving through Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Like, I grew up, my neighborhood had gangs, right? And everybody got gangs. We had these, in New York, we called it posses back then, or crews, right?
Right.
We didn't really have this blood and crip shit. Like, it was neighborhood. And then at one point in time, it became cross borough hoods. And then I remember it was like the Latin Kings and the Yentas, and everybody
Yeah.
had their different color beads. Yo, I was in everybody gang, right? I was good, man. I just moved around because I always build. And it's funny, like, I go to Oakland a lot, and some of my fam there, Mr. Fab, Unc the Hunk, like, I fuck with them. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is tapping in. Like when you
Right.
go to any new community, you got to tap in with the people who've been there. You got to, I'm very conscious about not being somebody that comes into a place and tries to steal the momentum or take the energy. Cause I'm also a big energy. Like I'm a little dude, but I got big energy. Right. So
Oh my God. Yes, you do.
and I know when I walk into a place, and then my wife is the same way. My wife has
Yeah.
big, and she's quiet. She's an introvert. She's got big energy. So when we walk into a place together, like we watch the whole room turn because we both Leos on top of that. So
Right.
like that energy just transforms the place. So I have to be conscious of that energy. Even when we started Suli Fun, that's when I called you and called Randy and called James. Like, look, this is a thing I want to do, but I don't want to be on the front of this, right? Like I want
Right.
y'all on the front of this. I want y'all to, because my energy will take over for a community that I support. I'm an ally of, but I hate seeing allies saying they're going to get down with a thing and that's all you see in the front doing stuff,
Exactly.
So
I
getting
wanted
back to your
to.
question, no, I don't want to be a part of it.
I wanted to not brush over Pace and the union because the first time stepping into the union, and this is, of course, I've known you and Jade for a while, but it was something extremely comfortable about stepping into that space. And so for those of you that don't know, the union is on 2nd and Seneca in downtown Seattle. And because of COVID, of course, there's COVID protocols. And so the union's not able to be active in the way that it has been, but hopefully it will be soon, if y'all stay at home and do what y'all supposed to do. But the thing about that space is that it felt at home for a bunch of Black bodies. Me and Randy did one of our events there, and the event was filled with trans and queer Black folks. And I remember everybody just kind of settling in, and that was like beautiful to watch because a lot of times if you are from a marginalized space and you walk into a space and you don't know if this space is welcoming to you, you're tense the entire time. And so what the thing that I remember the most is you and Jade being very present, but also being very non-present, which I think like you all set the tone for people to be comfortable there. Why is that important for you to make sure that the union and PACE is for all Black bodies?
Man,
And I know you touched on it earlier, but
yeah, Black is the common thread, right, of African descent. Everything after that is a subculture, right?
Right.
Your religion, your point of view, your sexuality, your gender, like nothing is normalized. So I always say if you put white folks in a room together and you get rid of all the Black people, all the people of color, because I don't think that's a term, right? At some point in time, they're going to start segmenting themselves on religion or some other shit.
Right.
And so like there's no real homogeny when we deal with anything. But at the end of the day, let's say I'm in an 8-passenger car and there's 8 Black people in there and there's one person that identifies as gay, one person that identifies as cis male but is a Muslim, another person who's a female, she's a devout Christian. There's a trans individual in the car. And let's just fill up the rest of the car with all these subcultures we have.
Right.
When the police come knock on that car window and say, hey, niggas, get out the car, you think they care what you identifying as? They don't care. So I look at, man, like we at war. We at war as a community. There's a war that has been perpetrated against our physical and our mental and our spirits for 500 years. And never in that war have they cared about how we identify for anything else other than what our skin reflects. And so for me, when I opened up this space is for people who are of African descent, period. All them other subcultures and trying to normalize all of that is crazy to me. And so I just wanted, it's why we say we foster community, commerce, creativity, and culture. That's our tagline. Right. So however you view your community, the space is for you. However you view your culture, this space is for you. However you want to do commerce, this space is for you, as long as you recognize that you are of African descent. And to me, that's what's most important. So when you all did your event, I was like, yo, have at it. What you need?
Right.
Cool. Can I stay? Not. And that was even thing. Like we had that conversation. Like, yo, as a cis male, am I comfortable? Do you want me here or do you want to have a space? Right? Let me know. And so for me, it's just I don't know. I think it's simple math. I think we just complicate things way too much, and people get so caught up in the isms. I think it reflects their own insecurities more than it reflects what's happening.
Right. I want to, something that you said, and I'm just going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Queer, trans, black folks dealing with straight, cis, black folks.
Oh, you going there?
You know I'm about to go there because you kind of dipped in for a second. So I'm just going to go there. There is tension. A lot of times, and I may have said this to you before, black, straight, cis men, one, don't know how to protect black women. Like, let's just be real on a, and I'm not saying everybody, so before y'all be like,
right, because I get down for mine.
Right. But on a level, we see a lot of straight black men not even knowing how to protect black women. So when it comes down to that, when you go down the line, when you're talking about queer gay men, then you're talking about queer folks, trans women and trans men. So how do you, as a cis man, how do you make me know that it is okay to be in relationship with you, that I will not be violated, that you know how to protect me?
I don't even think that's my job.
Talk more on that.
My job is to be a good human being to everybody I encounter. And so, like, you know, it's like pronouns and everything else. Once you tell me how you identify, it's my job just to respect you. Right? And I think vice versa. I don't know, man. I'm the kind
but
of
why
person
does that not happen though?
Because other people don't listen. Let's take it up a level from even being queer, right? Like, people ain't out here protecting their own mamas, right? They ain't protecting their own wives. They not protecting their friends. They not protecting themselves. So, like, I had a friend in college. Well, I don't even say that. I had an acquaintance in college. He was a roommate of mine. And I used to live in a house full of football players. I was the only dude who ran track and 3 other football players. Well, it was an athlete house. And you know how toxic that could be, right? And so I remember one time he was on a call and he was like, yeah, bitch, this, that, blah, 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 bitch, whoa, 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 blah. And so I was sitting there like, damn, he cursing somebody out. Then he get off the phone and he was like, I was like, damn, bro. You good? She pissed you off?
Don't say it. Don't
he was like, yeah, my mama be tripping.
See, I just wanted you not to say it.
Bruh. I was sitting there like, yo, that was your mother you was talking to? Yeah, yo, that bitch, this, that. Yo, I looked at everybody else in our house. I said, I can't fuck with this dude no more.
Right.
And they said, yo, you know I said, yo, let me explain something to you. If that dude don't have no respect for his mama, he ain't gonna never have no respect for me. It's only a matter of time before I'm gonna have to bust his head over something.
Right.
Facts. And it was only 4 months later, I almost had to get on a plane, and because we had a falling out about some bills. And I remember I was back in New York, he was still down south, and I was literally about to go bust his head over something. And my dad pulled me to the side. He's like, look, I'm not gonna stop you. If you want to go down there and do what you got to do, I feel you feel disrespected. He said, but think about it. How much money you talking about? And my dad is real philosophical, right? He can change you up with think about it this way, man. What is it, $500? Okay. Would you have given this dude $20,000 if you had it? I said, yeah. He said, so think about you just bought a sucker out of your life for $500. Consider it tuition. I was like, damn, OG, that's deep. Right? And that's so, real. But it just materialized. So I think I get back to the point of there's a lack of respect for self that we have. Like, that's true. We allow ourselves to be tormented by white supremacy and white people. We sit back all the time. That's why I tell you I get fired from places. Not because I did nothing. I'm the top performer. I'm making the company money. Usually it's how a black woman's being treated or it's like I'm watching something else happen and I'm jumping into somebody else's defense and they like, oh, you that Negro that's off the plantation. We got to get rid of you. You cause the problems because you're too senior to be in here talking like that. Exactly. Right? So it's bigger than protecting you. I think that if me and you somewhere and something get out of line, we moving like family. It ain't about no other sub. Like, it's just what it is. I just protect my people.
Right.
Um,
And I
but
and I
go
hear
ahead.
what you're saying, and I also go back to the many of black women, black trans women, black young girls that need to know that because they are being violated, their lives are being taken from them, and so that's why I bring them up. And again, I know you, and I know that you ride for people in a particular way. And just thinking of
Yeah.
like about what, even talking about the roommate that you had, like I knew it was coming. You gonna talk to your mama that way, like for real. And so, how do we get to a point in a society where a queer trans person does not have to question if a black cis heterosexual male is gonna be down for them?
Shoot, that's a deep question. You want me to answer? That's like the I don't know. Um,
I'm just gonna drop it
listen,
there. Folks
listen.
will talk about it
I
later.
mean, like I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna throw it back at you, right? Like I assumed as a cis black male in corporate America that another cis black male was gonna have my back, and he didn't.
True.
So this is why I keep saying I think it's bigger than that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I think black people got to start understanding sacrifice and have a cause that they worth dying for.
Right.
And until we get to that, everybody's a slave. And it pisses my wife off. I'm a grown ass man doing my corporate thing, and I have more cases sometimes than I'd be willing to admit, because I'm still that person that if you talk slick to me, I'm willing to pop you in your mouth. I don't care where I am or what I'm doing or how much money you think I got. Like I'm just born. You already know you from Detroit. Like half my family in
I
Detroit. Like Chicago. I just finished talking to one of my good friends yesterday. This dude's a literal millionaire. He yoked somebody up out the car and choking him up. Like, and I'm like, yo, bro, we was born in toxicity. And so you got to learn how to get that toxicity out of your system.
right.
So I don't know, but like people got to define a square and they got to be willing to stand on it and they got to be willing to die in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to answer that for other people, to be
Right.
honest with you, because I think it's a self-reflection question. Like I don't
True.
I don't know what badge I could put on or what banner I could fly that would make you feel safe other than
Mm.
just being authentically myself every day, right? Because I just, you, Randy, J Mace, whatever, like, we have living room. I just think y'all know that if we somewhere and some shit get out of line, I'm busting heads just because shit is disrespectful,
Right.
period, right?
Right.
And like, but I can't tell you that another person is gonna move that way. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you and I've had some other conversations. Like, I think also it's funny. Like, if I'm in rooms, right, there's a saying like that really bothers me from home. People be like, "Yo, no homo," right? And I'll be sitting here like,
No comment.
how that shit even become a thing, yo? Like, that shit don't even make sense. And I remember growing up and when dudes would be, like I grew up with a very flamboyantly gay brother, right? Like my brother was not nowhere near nobody's closet. You know what I mean? Like I remember being a shorty, but my brother was also, we was, if you know anything about Chicago gang culture, like we was in El Rukin territory. My dad,
Mm.
like BDs, GDs, like we was around a lot of craziness. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I remember being a shorty. One of my first memories was walking down the street with my brother and somebody called him a faggot. And
Mm.
my brother went to his car and he was not mad that somebody called him a faggot. He was mad that somebody said some disrespectful shit to him in front of his little brother.
Mm.
And Sully went and got a club. You remember the club we used to put on the
Oh
cars to
yes.
protect them?
Oh
He went
yes.
and got one of them joints. Told the dude, said, "What end you want?" And the dude thought he was playing. And my brother said, "Look, you take the big end. You ready?" And just handle this business. And I remember sitting there watching that going, whoa, my brother's
Right.
not to be played with.
Right.
And so we got to this whole thing later on in life where I would be in these circles of and dudes would either gay bash or have homophobic things to say. I always thought it reflected on them more than anything else. I used to say, like, what are you struggling with your sexuality, bro, that
Right.
person bothers you? Because I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, none of that
Mm-hmm.
has anything to do with you, yet you got a lot of things to say about it. So I just think there's a lot of insecurities wrapped up in people. There's a lot of things that people don't deal with themselves. Like,
Right.
I just, I think this pandemic is also bringing that to life, right? Like, people are being forced to be alone for the first time in their life. This shit is comfortable for me. I'm actually enjoying it because I don't like people for the most part. Like, I like being home. So you force me to be home around my family. I can't travel.
Right.
That's the part that sucks. But it's forcing people to be inward. And they're
Yeah.
dealing with a lot of things they've never had to deal with. And I just think that's the deepest part of it all right now.
Right. And so transitioning to being at home and being with your family, you are raising two beautiful young girls. What are you getting right? And what are you fearful of that you will fail in?
Oh, what am I getting wrong? Um, my
You want to say
compass,
wrong, I say fail. Say
yeah, no, like my compass, I've been blessed to have two fathers in my life.
mm,
One sucked in that father category. Like my biological father sucked. Like he lost all the awards, right?
hmm
So my compass when I first had children was just be a better dude than this dude was. Just be a better father than this dude is, and you won, right? Um, I also wanted to have boys when I thought I was gonna be a daddy. So I remember the first time I was told I was gonna have a girl, I was like, what? I don't know what to do with a girl. And I remember I'm remarried. My ex-wife at the time, she didn't understand it, but I said, yo, I gotta make some calls. And she said, who you calling? I said, I gotta call some exes, some women in my life. I gotta apologize for some shit. And she said, what? What you mean you calling your exes? I said, it's not like I'm not trying to rekindle nothing. But I literally called some people and was like, yo, I had to be reflective of my behavior. And I was like, yo, there's some shit that I did. I ain't move right. Because now that I'm thinking about raising a young
right,
woman, I'm thinking like, man, if somebody would have treated her that way, I'd have bust their head, right? So I had to go back and clean up some energy, right? That's energy cleansing. I was like, yo, because I
exactly.
also don't want that karma to reflect on me in these relationships. And also I got to go think about like how I want to raise my daughters and see the world. So one of the things I'm getting right is like honesty, openness, transparency. I tell my kids all the time, like there's nothing that I won't tell you if you come ask me. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Right.
Daddy ain't perfect, but I want us to have conversation. The things that I am working on is there's a harshness about me that you can't have with little girls. And it's really easy. And the other thing about it, like, I don't know if you've been around too many like New York women. They harsh as hell too.
Oh
Like
yes. Oh
so
yes.
and so there's this like environment I was raised in that I realized that like I just told one of my friends, like we had to do that because we had to survive. Like if you throw in an acid, the only way to survive is to become acid yourself. And so
Exactly.
that's the only way you survive an acid. Well, that's not the case. My kids are growing up in Seattle. They got a blessed lifestyle. They don't got nothing, ain't nothing hood about my children. They they ain't had to go through nothing,
Right.
right? Like they blessed. And so in that, I have to realize how to be softer. Like now that my oldest daughter's 10, we had to come to a deal where she's like, Daddy, that sometimes you raise your voice at me and I just don't like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's make a deal. When I ask you a question, you also got to be forthcoming and talk to me because there's some things you do that pisses daddy off that makes me get to a point where I raise my voice.
Right.
But let's have a conversation and figure out that middle ground. So I think that's the stuff that I'm trying to work on as a father is how to be super, super gentle because nurturing is easy. But like gentle is hard for black men raising little girls because we have this toughness that we have to have just to survive every day when we
hmm
leave the house. And so it's hard for me when I come home, even with I think it's the same struggle with my wife too. Like it's like
Right.
daughter and wife, right? Where like there'll be times when she's like, yo, why you at me like this? And I'm like, sorry, I had a rough day and it ain't you. Right? Like
hmm
I go out the house all day and I'm bombarded with whiteness, like on
Right.
all kind of levels. And so I think that's the thing that I'm working at is just being a more gentle human being
hmm
in general. But outside of that, I think the thing that I'm surviving and like thriving in is that my daughters realize that they African. They realize they have African descent.
Mm.
They don't believe in white people. They know whiteness is a construct that doesn't exist. There's no such
Right.
thing as white people. And they're understanding the world early on that they're being brought up in. And I think that's one of the disservices that happens to Black people in general. Is that's why so many people out here wondering what's going on. Like they fell for the fallacy of integration and equality and, you know, all of these white supremacy terms that basically obfuscated our Black existence. And my daughters are just understanding that. And like my 10-year-old just said to me the other day, she's like, Dad, I just want to go to a school with more people that look like me. To me, I'm like, all right, I'm winning, right? Because you're starting to understand this
Right.
construct of this world that you're in. So
Right.
I don't know. It's a challenge. Any Black fathers out there, hit me up with your with your tips. I see Jonathan on there.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, Jonathan, yeah. I think like one of the things I think about also is that how are you changing the stereotypical view of Black fathers with Black girls? I mean, I've been around junior girls, so I can see that, but how does that come up in your household?
Well, I think the first stereotype when it comes to Black fathers is that we non-existent, like we ain't out,
That part, right?
right? So I think that's the, you know, and I deal with challenges, you know, just to be transparent, even with my ex-wife who would love to like keep me apart from my daughters because that's the weapon that she has when she gets mad at me, right? It's keep your daughters away from you, right? So I think the challenge is just like, yo, I don't want to be in Seattle. I'll be 100. I would not be in Seattle if it wasn't for my daughters and this is what's best for them, right? Like, but so that's the one thing, just being present, being a present father. Like I think oftentimes when you go through divorces or separations or things like that, Black men can get so mad at the ex-wife or the child's mother or whatever. They got two decisions to make. You either deal with that crap that comes with you from over there and deal with it for your children,
Right.
or they make the other decision, which is, man, fuck her. I'm going to peace
Right.
out and I'll be back when they 16, 18, and I'll reconnect them when they old enough to understand. Man, them kids have been through too much damage at that point to understand why you left them.
Right.
And so you gotta deal with some other stuff that's just too hard to overcome.
And
So
then
for me,
understanding comes from the messages they get from the situation.
yep,
Like at that point in time, they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years of different understanding.
yep. And you gotta tell them what they think is truth is not truth. You at that time gotta introduce your story 10 years later. They've been thinking the truth is something else. And so for me, I just made a decision to sacrifice early and just be as present as I'm allowed to be. I also, you know, don't run up in courts. You know, I think that's another thing as Black families we do too much of, man. We call cops and we go to judges and that's just putting this white patriarchal system in the middle of our Africanness, which is just sucks to me. And so we got to figure out ways to like engage one another as family and as community. I mean, that's what this whole like defund the police, I think it's got caught behind this whole like tagline that people have hijacked to be something else, but it really is how do we get back to more community involved engagements in our families and our relationships with our
Put that money
neighbors,
back into the community,
right? In the first place. So I think the first stereotype to break is just being present. I think the second one is like, yo, if my daughter wants to have a unicorn birthday party and she want me to put on a pink thing with her, that's what I'm doing. It's for my daughter. Like, I don't care what nobody else think. Like, this how she want daddy to dress today? Cool, we unicorns today, right? If we doing sleeping bags, sleepover, ultimately it's just keeping your child on the pedestal and doing what they need, right? And providing for them. And I just, I look at it at some point, I say, I'm going to be an old man, Lord willing, right? Like, I'm going to be an old man. These are the two young ladies that are going to have to take care of me. Right? So if I get back
to take care of you, how you want that to look?
Like I took care of them, the best of everything. You feel me? Like, yo, don't bring no man to your house if he ain't understanding. At some point in time, he gonna have to take care of your father.
Right.
We don't believe in nursing homes in my family, man. You ain't going to no nursing home. You coming into this house. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't care who you like, man, woman. I don't care who you end up with. No, they got me too. So when
I'm just picturing them looking at you like you didn't do right, so
blood. that you not about to do that to me. I talk to my kids all the
Right.
time. Hey, you know, like how you said to me, oh, I want them Uggs, and Daddy took you up in Nordstrom's and I bought you them Uggs. Yo, I might be 80. I might want something. Don't be giving me the cheap version of that shit just because I'm 80. I want a nice room. I want you successful. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah, no. So it's investment. And I think that's the family cycle. Like it's return on investment, right? Like
Right.
you're young. I invest in you. I give you the best of everything. And when you get a certain age and I can't bring it in, you should be bringing it in. Hopefully I did the right things that allowed you to get good in life. And you take care of me. And I want to pass in my children's home.
Mm.
That's why I want to pass. Surrounded by family.
Right.
Legacy. I don't want to be up in nobody hospital or nursing home. Like that's whack. That's not African.
Mm. Mm. I hear you. Y'all, we are, I just let Arif go. I just drop a little things and I'm just like, okay. Um, we are coming close to time and we could talk for a while. And we've talked about Suli Fund and we've talked about Rasul a little bit, but we're gonna go a little bit deeper. I got my tissue because I know how this conversation
Lord,
can
let me go get mine.
Right. But I wanted to let everybody know that if the comment it's pinned, if you want to donate, normally we put artists their Venmo, Cash App. Arif was definitely like donate to the Suli Fund. So this past Tuesday was World AIDS Day, and that's when we launched the Suli Fund. Also, this cycle of giving. So our goal is to give as much as we can, and I'm saying we because it's myself, J Mesa Third, Tin, Shantina Vernon, Randy Ford, Arif, and Jade. We're all on this cohort to make sure that Black queer folks get funded. This cycle is about being HIV positive. We're honoring Rasul because Rasul died from complications of HIV and AIDS. So, woo!
Yeah, right. You trying to
Yes.
pull it out of me? Ha!
I'm not. I'm really not. But you already know what this means to me. So
Yes.
that is why this means a lot. So if you all, Tuesday was also Giving Tuesday. If you all want to, please check out sulifund.org to donate, or to also, if you know someone that is HIV positive, someone that is queer, send them the information because we want to try to make sure that this fund stays alive and that we give money to queer folks. And so that's all I'm going to say on that. I wanted to just talk a little bit more about Rasul. Why was he important, and outside of being your brother,
Right.
why was he important to you, and why is this fund important to you and your mother?
Yeah. My brother's like my guardian angel, right? Like I feel his energy everywhere I go, everything I do. I invoke his name all the time. He's pictures up all around my house. I think outside of that, the challenge wasn't just like, I remember when AIDS hit in the community, right? Like, if we think about this pandemic, most people, like, you think about if you probably under 30 years old right now, you probably don't remember when AIDS like hit,
Right.
right? Like, I think about how blessed somebody is 30, 25, coming into a world where there's even medication to live long lives on AIDS. When AIDS first hit the community, it first hit as like that's that gay disease, right?
Okay,
And it's kind of like how Trump walking around talking about Corona's the Chinese virus, like
right.
everybody can't get this shit, right? Like it's the Chinese virus, like bro, that shit sounds like when AIDS came out. And I remember being a shorty, and it was like 89, 90 when my brother came to New York and kind of told us that he was positive. I cried more the day my brother told me he was positive than I think the day he actually passed, because it was like the pending death sentence that you knew was
Right.
coming. I think for me it was like every day waking up thinking that like maybe they're gonna find a cure today. Maybe they're gonna find a cure today.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even think about how fast they got to a coronavirus vaccine, right? And like how we were waiting for something like that in the 90s, and like how it just never came in time to save my brother and nobody else. Also, I remember Kimron was a thing, and they were actually curing people of HIV in Nigeria with this thing called Kimron. We had a friend who had gone through it, my mother, we knew people who had actually got cured of HIV. Now, this is something that people don't talk about, and like, let's be honest, look at fucking Magic Johnson. Like, I don't know why the world lets this man walk around like this man has no HIV, like, in his system right now. So there's obviously a money factor. There's this other things that if you just live different lifestyles, like Trump, get coronavirus, go in the hospital, get the secret shot, right? And so I remember going to my brother, my mom going to my brother and saying, yo, we can get you to Nigeria. We can get you on some experimental drugs. We can do this. And he was like, nah, I'm ready to go. He's like, I'm good. And to me, that was deeper than the virus he was fighting. That was like he was tired of his lifestyle and like the persecution that was coming from that. Furthermore, I had a father who was like not tolerant at all, right? So I was raised in a Muslim family. My father was Muslim. And I remember like my father didn't even want to bury my brother. Like his whole motion was like, yo, let the hospital have him. Let them cremate him because, you know, that shit shouldn't go in the earth. I remember like I stopped talking to my father for like 14 years after that happened. And so we've gotten to this world where there's like this new pandemic, but everybody has forgotten the original Black pandemic. And I think when you think about specifically the LGBTQ community and HIV and just the persecution that community goes under already, the lack of resources, you know, for me, it was just like on my father's deathbed, he said to me, your goal, your job is to make our name a household name. And in his egotistical fashion, he meant Gursel, right? Because he's like, you know, there's some shit I ain't accomplished. And my dad did a lot, but he was like, yo, there's some stuff I still want you to go do. I need that Gursel name. Like, so you putting that shit on me. And I thought to myself, you mother. I said, what I'm finna go do is make Suli's name a household name, the first name, not your name.
Right.
And so there was, you know, to honor my brother, there was nothing that I thought I could do more than like uplift his memory, his who he was, like he was and is, like he's just so full of life and energy that was cut down early. Like I think about it now. My brother passed when he was 24. I was 14. And I remember thinking how old he was. And then I remember getting to 24 and thinking how much I didn't do or hadn't accomplished yet. And just so, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's just really important to me to like have something that uplifts him, that helps the community that he cared about. You know, my brother was probably living on his own since he was 14. I remember like my father kicking him out, doing all kind of stuff, you know, and the community that took care of him was his community. You know, what other gay people, you know, transgender people, lesbian women, like that was his community in Chicago. You know, they took care of him. And so to think about who's here to take care of that community today, like so much of the narrative has just shifted. And like, it's almost like we don't even like, it's like World AIDS Day kind of came and went this year without much fanfare. If you noticed it, like it was like one of the first times I was like, damn, nobody's even really talking about this anymore. No. And this is like
because it came on Giving Tuesday,
and it came on like, and I didn't know that, Danny. Like, you know, we didn't plan that, right? We was like, oh, we gonna get this out, and then I looked up and I was like, yo, Giving Tuesday and World AIDS Day on the same day, and like, yo, this is the day. Like we launching this today, right? So that's why I stayed up. I missed the meeting with y'all. Like I was like, I gotta get this website done. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's just it's important. And for my mother, you know, my mother is just, I watched what she went through as a parent losing a child. Like, that's unnatural. Like, you shouldn't lose children, right? Like, you're supposed to go before your children. And so, I had my bout with cancer and other things a couple years ago. And one of the things that got me through that was like, there was two people I was living for. I was living for my daughters and I was living for my mother. Like, my mother cannot lose another child before her. You know what I mean? So.
Right.
And that tees up what we coming with next. There's another fund that I'm starting, you know, in the June time frame for Black cancer and Black cancer battle, right? And again, it's Sankofa. It's every time I go through something, I start a program. And so that's what we doing. That'll be coming in the June timeframe. So Sully Fun had to come. It's 30 years in the making. And I'm just happy that I found a crew and a family to help me bring it to fruition, because it was definitely something my mother and myself weren't going to be able to do ourselves. But so,
Right.
I feel my brother's hand all over everything that we've been doing. So I appreciate you and Randy and Jay Mays and Shantina and Ten for what we doing. And like, I just see this being so big, so much bigger than I think even you and I imagine it being right
Yeah.
now. And like, and the responses that I've been getting quietly with people just coming into my DMs like, yo, I want to do this. I want to do this for you. I want to do that. I'm like, yo, this is about to be big. This is about to be really big. And like that household name my father, called on, he didn't realize it was about to be the gate, so he kicked out the house.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
that's like the final like hoo-yah to him for me. You know what I mean? So
Right. Jonathan wrote something that I thought was really powerful. Money grabs more attention or more press than World AIDS Day. And again, so I also want to correct you on something to read. You said his lifestyle. It was his life.
yeah. Life.
You
Correct me, lifestyle.
because I love Arif, so y'all know like he and I will go back and forth. And I say life because a lot of times when you are queer, when you are trans, when you are non-binary, it's a lifestyle. It is not your life. It is not who you are. So I just want to make sure that people understand this is who we are as people.
Man.
It's not a lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah, and I
sure.
correct you in love because I love you.
And I accept it all the time, right? Like, first time I take it, next time pop me in my mouth.
Right. But the thing, and we are about to wrap up, but I say this about you, and you and I have talked, and you have been given a lot of crap from a lot of people because they make assumptions about you because you are direct in your communication, and your words are your words. You don't hide behind a meaning. Your meaning is your meaning. And I just want people to understand and know that anytime dealing with you on any level, business, personal, kicking it, you are always the same. And it is always love. I appreciate the Chicago-born, New York-bred, Alabama going to school, Seattle living person that you are.
Yeah.
Because I know with you there is no bullshit. That we don't have to go through that. And I've heard, and we talked about people calling you toxic, and I just get so mad about that because there's nothing inside of you that is toxic. And you're also a person that's willing to grow and to learn and to teach and to educate. And what I love about you also, no matter who it is, you tell people how to treat you, period.
That's
Like, you don't let people, you stop them in their tracks. Like, oh no. And so I just for those that don't know Arif, just a beautiful spirit, a beautiful human being that he is a lot to take on purpose.
It's on
and
purpose.
I don't mean that in a backhanded way. Right. I mean that in a beautiful way. He is a lot to take, and you need to take him in because you will learn so much from him. What's your next move? What's up? What's next?
Living.
We know the cancer fund is coming, making sure people that are Black and cancer.
Waking up tomorrow. Yo, like the one thing I want to say is I don't think people call me toxic. I don't know. Like, one of the best things my mother ever said to me is what people think of you is none of your business. So I actually lose no sleep over what people talk about. I know you don't. Like, that's cool. I ain't even in your circle, so talk away. Just keep talking. I don't know if people call me toxic. I've called myself toxic. And it's because I know I've grown up in toxic environments, a lot of them. And so I think that's part of my self-reflection, right? Of going, how do I fast from my own toxicity? How do I get things out of me that I don't think power me to the next level? So that's one part I just want to, chime in on. What's next? Walking in the light that the ancestors shine. I just believe in heeding the omens. I'm super spiritual. And when I hear the voices or when I get the signs, that's the way that I'm gonna move. And so I don't know, like, Lord willing, I wake up tomorrow, and when I wake up tomorrow, I'm gonna try to get it. I'm gonna get everything I can that day. All of it. It's mine. The world is mine. I teach my kids, this world is ours. I don't care who else
Right.
live in it. Get all of it, and then give it to the people you want to give it to. But get it all. Make and take is our saying in our house. We gonna make it or we gonna take it. And so that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna take it. I don't put my eggs in white folks' baskets, so I don't care about what job I have. I don't care about what a fake ass ally is telling me about what they think. And if you ain't moving right, and if you moving with a narrative that you moving for the people, and I see you not moving for the people, I'm calling you out on that shit. And because there's so
Right.
much fake blackness in this city and in this world right now. All these legacy black organizations talking all this, doing stuff for black people, and they out here selling black people up the river. So like, you know, we ain't got enough time, Danny. You already know. Like, I'm just not with the bullshit. So you're going to see me out here, Pan-African Center of Empowerment, black fists up, red, black, and green, living that shit to the do or die, baby. That's what we doing.
I was trying to like, see, I'm glad we had time right now, because I was trying to like keep it off of the other stuff.
You can just call me when this call done. We can keep talking, because you already know, like, you know, it's just weird. You know, we out here fighting for liberation. We fighting for our lives. So
that's real.
What we doing. Real. I love you.
I love you. My last question for you is, what's your joy?
My family. My family is joy. That's the only thing that centers me. Just my Africanness, living in that spirit, just living and knowing that they've thrown everything at us they could throw at us, and we thrive. Now we ain't just surviving, like we thrive. And just knowing that we melanated, that we from the stars, and at some point in time we gonna return, and that's happy for me. Like I just know black people are dope. Like we are literally magic, and so you know, just harnessing that magic and sprinkling it all over the place. That's what's dope to me.
I love it. That's it. That's all I got to say. I'm gonna put in your website. Yep, that's right. I hope I got it right. Yep.
Yeah.
So I want to connect today. Arif, I love you. Let me know when you're going back up to communion.
Soon my wife bring this car back, or I might have to take an Uber. But I'm up there. Listen, I was up there shooting them earlier, shooting some B-roll footage, because we doing some stuff for Kwanzaa as well, and it was smelling so good. Christy and them putting their foot in them pots. I had to go ahead. I already put me a pickup order for 4:30, so I'm gonna be there at 4:30 picking up my food. So if you're there, let's chop it up.
Well, let me go and get out of all of this and get ready. All right. Love you all. Love you, Arif. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you tomorrow.
We coordinated.
We are black. See.
That was for Randy.
Exactly. That was for Randy. For real.
All right.
All right. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.